Hello students, welcome to Short Sir classes. My name is Professor Himadri Datta. In today's lecture, we'll talk about ISLM model. The first thing we have to know about ISLM model is that it shows the interaction between goods market and money market. So first we have to remember ISLM is what? Interaction, or we can say like this, say good market interacts with money market. What is good market? First we have to define, and then what is money market, then we'll how we club them together to get the equilibrium of the entire economy. So first, before we get into good market and money market, first we need to understand what is ISLM model. ISLM model shows the relationship between R, which is interest rate, and Y, which is output level. So here we have to remember ISLM model shows the relationship between R and Y. Now we'll see in terms of good markets what is the relationship between R and Y. Then we'll see in terms of money market what is the relationship between R and Y. Then we'll club them together to get the general equilibrium level. Now why are we calling it general equilibrium level? Because here in case of ISLM model we are not considering any individual price level, rather we are considering the price level of the entire economy. This is why we call it ISLM to be a general equilibrium model. Now I straightway go into the definition of good market and how from good market equilibrium we can form IS curve. Then we'll show what is money market equilibrium and how from money market we can draw the LM curve, and then we'll show how these two interact with each other to give the general equilibrium level of output and interest rate. So now straightway we'll go into good market equilibrium. I'll rub this off so that I can write the good market equilibrium equation. In terms of good market equilibrium, what we have to do is that first we need to remember two things. One is circular flow of income, and the second thing that we have to remember is that aggregate supply curve must intersect with aggregate demand curve. This is, we can say aggregate supply as Y and aggregate demand curve, which is the expenditure part, could be written as C plus I plus G. So this is one way to find the good market equilibrium. This is another way to find the good market equilibrium. Now first, in our discussion, we'll take this route, circular flow of income, and how do we derive the equation for IS. Then we'll take this route. For the time being, we'll just talk about circular flow of income. What is circular flow of income? Let's say in an economy there are two agents, so there are two economic forces. Let's say there is firm and there is household. Okay? Let's say there is household Now, what is the purpose of a household? The purpose of household is to buy commodities from the producer, that is from the farm. So, they will buy commodities from the producer, that is purchase of goods and services. Now, they will purchase the goods and services. In return to it, they will give money to the firms. In order to buy the products, they will give money to the firm. That is payment to the firm for these goods and services. Now, what will a firm do? A firm will purchase factors. Factors means what? Let's say labor. Okay? The household provides labor to a firm and firm buys it from the household. So, firm makes a payment. Payment for, let's say, L and K. L and K means factors. Payments for factors. So, here as you can see, the firm purchases factors from household, let's say labor or capital or inputs, and household buys goods and services from firm. In return to it, household pay the amount for the goods and services, and firm also make the payment for the inputs that come from the household. So in this way we can show or we can make a circular flow of income. Now as you can see, suppose for an example, in an economy there is only 1,000 rupees or 1,000 bucks. Okay, let's say there is only 1,000 rupees in the economy. Now, out of this 1,000 rupees, a firm will, let's say, produce goods. A firm will produce good worth of 1,000 rupees. Let's say the firm has produced goods worth 1,000 rupees. Now, what will a household do? Now here, household buys this 1,000 rupees from the firm. Now, household have 1,000 rupees in hand. Like let's say, the central bank has produced 1,000 rupees because there is 1,000 rupees worth of goods and services in the economy. Okay, there is goods and services in the economy. Of 1,000 rupees. So, the money supply in the economy is 1,000. Let us assume this example, okay? Now, as you can see, the household has got 1,000 rupee in hand, and the firm has to produce, or the firm has produced goods worth of 1,000 rupees. Now see, the household will give this 1,000 rupees to firm and buy the products from the firm. Okay, so I am repeating again. The household will pay 1,000 rupees for the goods and services that he is going to buy from the firm, and firm will earn that 1,000 rupees from the household. Now in this way we can make a flow, a circular flow of income. That is, the firm will produce goods worth of 1,000 rupees and household will buy that good and pay 1,000 rupees to the firm. Now in return, firm will buy factors of production, which is input, let's say labor or raw materials, for the household again. The factors of production will cost him, let us assume 1,000 rupees. So he will again give back that 1,000 rupees to the household. So in this way, this 1,000 rupees which is produced in the economy, which is equivalent to the worth of goods and services produced by the firm, this 1,000 rupees can flow in a circle this way. This is called circular flow of income. The income that the household generates by selling factors of production to the firms, or the income that firm generates by producing output and selling it to household, that 1,000 rupees is flowing in a circle in this way. So we call it circular flow of income. Now here we'll introduce another variable. Let's say we will introduce another variable or another component, which is government. In an economy, there is one firm, there is one household. Now we'll introduce another variable or component called government, who will act as a mediator between these two. The government's job is to facilitate or to improve the standard of living or the livelihood of both of these firms and household. Okay, now I'll redraw it so that I can include that government component here. Okay, so so far we have talked about an household. For simplicity, we'll just denote this term as H. H is household. Now we'll denote firm by a term F, and here we'll introduce another term, that is G. G is what? G is government. Okay, now as I have already talked about this, it is household buys goods and services, and firm buys factor services. So here purchase of household will buy goods and services, and firm will buy payment. Household will make payment for goods and services, and the firm will make payment for factor services. Now, how can we incorporate this term G into our model? So here, as you can see, as if we consider the earlier example that we took, that is the economy has only 1000 rupees, then you can assume that the household has 1000 rupees, and this 1000 rupees he is paying to the firm for purchase of goods and services, and again firm making payment for factor services, and the 1000 rupees is getting back to household. So in this way, this 1000 rupees can flow in a circle. This is why we call it circular flow of income. We already know this. Now, how, because of emergence of this component, by incorporating this component, how this circular flow of income will be changed, that is our focus of study at this moment for the time being. Say, what is the role of government? Government either gives subsidies or government either charge taxes. So the government does two things. I'll write it here. The government either increase or decrease G. G means what? G means what? Government purchases, that now government buys more goods and services from the firm, or say government services give subsidies to household so that firm household can buy more products from the firm. So this component is called government expenditure, or else government can pay taxes. That is, government can charge taxes. That is, government can make household or firm make them pay taxes. So we'll denote it by T term. Either government can increase and decrease T, which is tax. Now, suppose 1000 rupees, a household hold 1000 rupees. Now say the government has charged 10% tax on that income. That is, from 1000 rupees you have to give 100 rupees to the government. Now, due to imposition of tax, what will happen? The income, the 1000 rupees, which has to be circulated again to the firm, that 1000 rupees will get down to 900 rupees because of 10% tax. So before it was 1000, now due to imposition of 10% tax, now 10% of 1000 is what? 900. So because of imposition of tax, it will come down to 900 rupees. Now the household has only 900 rupees. This 900 rupees will be circulated. That is, out of this 900 rupees, the household will buy goods and services from the firm. So now firm has only 900 rupees. So similarly, the firm will also make payment for factors and services worth 900 rupees. So the 1000 rupees has now come down to 900 rupees. Now this decrease in income in the circular flow from the circular flow has to be compensated by an equal amount of increase in government expenditure. That is, the 100 rupees that government has collected from household has to be paid back to the economy through different means, which is known as government expenditure. Government expenditure is what? Government collects tax from the economy, from the households, from the firms. Now, due to this imposition of tax, the circular flow of income gets down, gets reduced. That reduction in the circular flow of income has to be met or has to be compensated with an equal increase in government expenditure. So, the government will increase its expenditure by say 100 rupees. So, when government increases its expenditure of 100 rupees, again the reduced amount, which is 900, will become 1000 rupees because government has increased its expenditure. So now here are two things that we have to remember. When government expenditure increases, due to G term, it adds up to the circular flow of income. So the G term adds up to the circular flow of income. Okay, and the T term, that is tax, reduces or say negative from circular flow of income. Okay, so now so far we have talked about household and firm. There is 1000 rupees which is being circulated in a circle. Okay, now this 1000 rupees has to be circulated in order to maintain the equilibrium of the economy. Now say government has come, government has either imposed tax, or the tax, due to imposition of that tax, the reduction in income has to be made or has to be compensated with another increase in government expenditure. So this way, even with the emergence or even with the G component, the goods market can retain its equilibrium. Now there are two more things that we have to add here to complete this circular flow of income. One is savings. One is savings. And the second is investment. So the first term that we have to remember is savings. That is, say the household, let's say the central bank, okay, the central bank has produced, let's say 1000 rupees, okay, now, and the 1000 rupees is given to the producers of the economy. Now producer has that 1000 rupees, that capital the producers have. Now what they will do? They will produce goods and services worth that 1000 rupees. Now, in order to produce that goods and services, the producer needs factors, various factors like labor, capitals. So they will buy these factors from whom? From household. Like, let's say in a household, we go to the firm as a laborer and we work there. We provide the factors for the production. So the firm in turn pays us for those factors. Let's say the firm has 1000 rupees which is being produced by the central government, and the 1000 rupees he will pay us for our factors. Now we have that 1000 rupees. That is called factored income. The payment that is made by firm, that is now we have as factored income. Now we will do what? We will again consume goods and services. We'll buy that from the firms in the economy. So what we'll do? We will go and buy goods and services worth 1000 rupees. Now if you have focused it, if you have been very careful, we have made one assumption here. Various assumptions are there, but one crucial assumption, that is, suppose I earn 1000 rupees by providing my factors, say laborers or let's say raw materials. But you did not consider, or we did not think about one thing, that is, there is another component called savings. That is, suppose I have earned 1000 rupees. I am not going to consume the entire amount. That is, I am not going to consume the 1000 rupees. Rather, what I'll do, I'll save some of it for future consumption. There are various uncertainties lie in the future. So now, to reduce those uncertainty, what we'll do, we'll save it in the bank. So now we'll introduce this thing called financial market. That is, we'll introduce these two components. Now, so here in our example of this, we have said 1000 rupees we have. Out of those 1000 rupees, suppose we are saving, let's say, 200 rupees. So now this 1000 rupees will come down to now this 1000 rupees will come down to say 800 rupees. Why? Because now the consumers, the household is saving 200 rupees. Because of this, it has come down to 800 rupees. Now, one thing we have to remember, as we have introduced another term, that is financial market here. What is the role of financial market? The role of financial market is to act as a mediator between household and firm. Now, how do they act as a mediator? Let's say, how do production take place in an economy? First, we have to understand this. For production, the first and foremost thing we need is money, that is capital. By that capital, we'll buy labor and other factors for the production purpose. So first we need is money. So as a producer, usually either we own that money, that is, we have inherited it as wealth from someone, or we take loans from the bank. That is the common thing which most of the businesses and most of the firms do in today's world. That is, they take loans from the bank. So they take loans from the bank. In return to it, they pay interest for that. So I will not consider that interest term yet. I will take it when I will be explaining IS model. Okay. Now, for the time being, just say there is one financial market who acts as the mediator between household and the firm. Now, its job is to transfer, or let's say transform the savings into loans. That is, transform the savings into investment. That is the role of financial market. Now, what is that? This is simple, very simple. Say the household, out of his 1000 rupee income, has saved 200 rupees in the financial market. Now, what is the role of that financial market? They will lend that 200 rupees to the firms, to the people who are willing to invest in the production process. So, the 200 rupees is gone to whom? The 200 rupees is gone to the firm. Now, firm possesses that 200 rupees as the firm has borrowed it from the financial market bank. Now, out of that 200 rupees, firm will do what? Firm will make an investment in the production purpose, and he will generate more income, and then he will return that money to the financial market. So in this way, due to savings, as you can see, due to saving, the circular flow of income coming down to 800 rupees. That is, it is reducing. That is, it is getting reduced due to savings. That reduction has to be compensated again the way increase in T was compensated by increase in government expenditure, here also due to saving has to be compensated with investment. Then only we can say that 1000 rupees is again reinvested and is again flowing in the circle. Now we have two terms, two specific terms to define this. I will give sign of minus here when it is savings, because due to savings there is reduction in circular flow of income, and I will give positive sign here in investment because of investment. What is happening? Because of investment, as you can see, it adds up to the circular flow of income. Now we have two specific terms to define this plus minus sign. One is the circular flow of income, and the term is leakage. That is, a part of money, a part of income which flows in the circle is getting leaked out due to two components. That is the 1000 rupees that is there in the household or in the economy or in the circular flow of income. That income is getting reduced to some amount due to two reasons. As we have seen, either due to savings or due to tax. So these are the two components which are responsible for reduction in the circular flow of income. So we call it leakage. Leakage. That is, a part of income is getting leaked from the economy. Now this leakage has to be met with another thing that is called injection. Injection of income, which is what? That is government expenditure and investment. So this term is called leakage. This term is called injection. Now leakage has to be made with injection. The part of income which is getting reduced, which is getting leaked from the economy due to T or savings component, has to be compensated or has to be injected by an equal amount of investment or government expenditure. Then we say leakage is equals to investment. When leakage is equals to investment, we say the commodity market or the goods market, good market is in equilibrium. So our point is what? When leakage is equals to investment, the good market is in equilibrium. Now we'll explain this entire phenomena that we talked about for say about 30 minutes. We will denote it in an equation which will help us to draw the IS equation, or say to find the slope of IS curve. That is, first on the left hand side we'll write the terms which are responsible for leakage. The terms are savings. Savings is responsible for leakage, and say tax. Due to imposition of tax, the income gets reduced, or due to savings, the circular flow of income gets reduced. So these two terms we call what? Leakage. Leakage must be equal to investment and government expenditure. So when leakage is equals to injection, we call it is the goods market equilibrium. Okay, now here we have to understand what is the relationship between S and Y, and what is the relationship between I and R. That is, S depends on the factor or the variable Y. How? S depends on Y. See, if income increases, it is quite expected the consumption will increase and also the saving will also increase. So when income increases, the saving does increase. So when income decreases, the saving does decrease. So the relationship between saving and income is always positive. That is, they are not inversely related, they are positively related to each other. That is, when income increases, saving increases. When income falls, the saving falls. Make sense? Now, so the relationship between them is positive. And in this model, we'll assume P and G to be exogenous variable. Exogenous variable means which is determined from the outside. That we assume them to be constant because they are exogenous. They are not determined from within the model that we will draw now. Rather, they are determined from outward intervention. So G and T in this model is constant, is fixed. Here another term we'll have to introduce is IR. What is I? That is investment. Investment depends on interest rate. When we talked about investment, you must have noticed we incorporated the concept of financial market. Now, as you can see in financial market, they do lend loans to the firms and firms take those loans and make investment. Now, say, for an example, the financial market has decided to increase the rate of interest for the loans that they are providing to the investors. That is, the investors who are going to take loans from the bank for the investment purpose, their cost of taking loans, that is, the investment they have to pay back for that borrowing has increased, say. That is, let's say the R is increased. So when your cost for anything increases, that is, say in this example, when the cost for borrowing for the investment purpose has increased, it is quite expected that your propensity to borrow will go down, so as your investment will go down. I am repeating again, that is, what you do for the investment purpose, usually we took loans from the bank. Now, by taking loans, what you have to pay back? You have to pay back some amount of money as interest rate for that amount of loan. Now, if your interest rate has gone up, that financial market has decided to increase the investment. Now what will do? What will the investor do? The cost of borrowing, that is the interest rate, has gone up because now they have to pay back more money for that same amount of fund for the investment. So it is quite expected that their propensity to invest will also go down as their cost of borrowing, which is interest rate, has gone up. So here we can see an indirect or an inverse relationship between R and I. That is, when R increases, that is when interest rate increases, the investment goes down. So there is inverse relationship between R and I. So this is, I'll denote it by negative because the relationship is negative. I'll denote it by positive because the relationship is positive. And here T and G, they are exogenous variable. Now, our focus is to derive the IS equation and to find the slope of IS curve. Now, as you can see, in circular flow of income, this is the model. So from here we have to draw the IS curve. See, now we'll take total differentiation of this entire term thing. So this, if you differentiate this in terms of y, we'll be left with s dash y. S dash y is first order differentiation of this term, and there is another term which is y. So y will be differentiated with itself. So we'll write dy. So it will become s dash y dy plus change in t will be denoted by dt. Here also similar thing will happen the way we did it here. That is I dash r dr plus dg. So now, as we have already assumed that the t and g to be two exogenous variables, so this change in t and change in g will be 0. That is the change in tax and change in g, which is denoted by d, small d, which is differentiation. By first order differentiation, what we see? By doing first order differentiation, we see the change. Now, as t and g is assumed to be constant, they cannot change. So, they are assumed to be 0 in this model. So, we are left with just this term and this term. Now, here, if you take this term to this side and this term to this side, so we'll be left with dr by dy. So we'll be left with dr by dy equals to s dash y I dash r. So I'm rewriting it again. So what we did here, we first wrote the equation. We have written the equation that we got from the circular flow of income. From this equation, we have taken the first order differentiation of the entire term, total differentiation. And then from here, these two terms, we have assumed them to be 0. So they are vanished from the equation. So we are left with these two terms. Now what we did here, we take dr by dy and sy by ir. So I'll rewrite it again. I'm expecting you guys have noted it down so that I can rub it off. So our end result was this was our end result. Okay, now say, what does this term denote? This term basically shows a relationship between R, which is interest rate, and Y, which is output or income, say. The term which we write in the denominator, we usually mean, we will change this first. So this is the driving force. If inverse is R increases or decreases, what will happen to the change of in income? As we have seen it to be less than 0, which is negative. How? See, the relationship between R and investment is negative. We have already seen it in the circular flow of income. When interest rate goes up, the investment falls. So, if you keep on increasing R, that is I dash R means the change in investment due to change in rate of interest. So, they are always negative because when interest rate goes up, the investment is expected to go down because now investors have to pay more money for their borrowing. So, this denominator, we have gotten it to be negative. And in the numerator, if you remember, the relationship between saving and income is always positive. So this numerator is positive term. This is negative. As the denominator is negative and numerator is positive, the entire terms become negative. So dr dy, which is the relationship between R and Y, which is our focus of study today, we have got it to be negative. Now we have to remember one thing. This dr dy has come from the good market equilibrium that we have found from the leakage must be equals to injection. This is nothing but the slope of IS curve. dr by dy is nothing but the slope of IS curve. So here we have found the slope of IS curve. Now we'll explain it or we'll incorporate this, our finding into a diagram. Let's say on the vertical axis, we'll take interest rate. Here we take income. So, as the IS equation states, this is negative, as we have found it to be negative. So, the slope of IS curve is negative, means it is downward sloping. This is IS curve. So the slope of IS curve is downward sloping. That is, if you want to increase the amount of income, the rate of interest has to go down. That is, at this level, this is R0, this is Y1. If you want to increase the income here, see, the rate of interest has gone down. So the relationship between Y and R is always negative. This is why IS curve, which is called investment and saving curve, is negative, which shows the equilibrium in good market. So today first we talked about the two ways to find the good market equilibrium. One way is circular flow of income, another is aggregate demand equals to aggregate supply. We have taken the way of circular flow of income, and from circular flow of income we have found the basic equation, and from there on we have found the slope of IS curve, and we have drawn the IS curve diagram here, which is a negatively sloped, which shows the negative relationship between R and Y. Now in the next video we'll take the root of aggregate demand and aggregate supply curve, which is very needed, to form the equation to solve maths or sums and to draw the IS curve in a different way. Thank you for watching this video. I am giving you the number so that if you have any query or if you have any suggestion, you can WhatsApp me on this number 98 36793076. And please, for more videos, you can go to www.showupselfclasses.com and you will get more videos like this on that website. Thank you for watching today. Have a great day ahead.